I've run 1,737 miles in these Endorphin Speed 3 running shoes, and I'm going to help you decide whether this is the right shoe for you to buy. I'm going to talk about what these shoes are like to run in, what makes them different from other shoes, and their durability, which I think you'll actually be surprised about. I'll go into that at the end of the video. I actually trained in these for the London Marathon back in April and ran 2:24 at 42 years old, so they've done me good, but let's see what I actually think about them. Right, so this video isn't sponsored by Saucony. Saucony haven't asked me to talk about their shoes, they haven't paid me. I bought the shoes with my own money, and I just wanted to talk about my experience with them because I've used them so much, 1,737 miles, and I thought it'd be useful for you guys to know what I thought about them. So I've owned the two previous versions of the shoe. This is the Endorphin Speed 1, which is a brilliant shoe. This started off the Endorphin Speed line, and then this is the Endorphin Speed 2, which I loved even more than the 1. Everything about it is just great for me. It's lightweight, comfortable, it runs fast. You can also use it in easy pace runs. It was a brilliant shoe, and I had a couple of pairs of these. There's another pair that I got as well, similar. I absolutely love them. So when the Endorphin Speed 3 came out, I was a bit apprehensive because I just loved the Endorphin Speed 2. So the 3 is a bit different. It's wider than the 2. And I think this will actually suit a lot of people because it actually does make it more stable as a shoe. I like the 2 because it felt almost like a glove. It fitted my foot perfectly. I'm not saying this doesn't. This does fit my foot very well. But it's perhaps not quite as perfect as the 2, but it's still very, very good for me. And actually, once I got used to the difference between the 2 and the 3, I actually like this just as much as the 2, perhaps even more. It just became, again, my regular shoe for doing all my runs in. The reason that I ran 1,737 miles in this shoe is because it worked for all my runs. It worked for faster tempo runs, it worked for speed work, it worked for my steady runs, it worked for my easy runs. It just felt good in all different types of run. And it's cushioned, but not too cushioned. So it's not so cushioned that it feels squishy, but it's not hard that it feels like a rough ride. And that's perfect for me. I always wanted that combination of speed with cushioning. And I found that quite hard to find. I actually never found a shoe that has got it so right in that sense. And that is why I used them and ran in them so much. I used these to train for the London Marathon, and the general sort of advice is that you should rotate your shoes, give your feet a rest when running in the same shoe all the time, use different shoes with different speeds. But I love this so much that I just ran in it for every speed and every single run. Durability. Now, this shoe here has done 1,737 miles. And I'm not joking when I say it could do another 1,000 miles. It's unbelievable. It still looks, I guess it's not as good as new, but the sole is incredibly well intact. There's a bit of colour has come off the bottom of the sole, but it's still very, very good. The rubber on the bottom is worn a little bit, but not that much considering the amount of miles it's done. I actually still use it just for walking around, just as a kind of fashion trainer, because it's still so intact. Yeah, I've got a little, if you can see that, I've got a little bit of a tear in the fabric, and that happens to all my shoes. That happens especially to my Saucony shoes, actually. I always get that little tear at the front. But yeah, I like them so much that I then went out and bought another pair. But I only bought the other pair because I thought, okay, I should have done so many miles in these. I thought, I need to buy another pair of running shoes. But in reality, I could have definitely carried on going with these. They've still got bounce. They still feel good. There's nothing wrong with them. And even the weather, the spring weather here when I was training for the London was pretty bad. It was raining a lot. It was very wet, and they've survived that so well. I'm I'm amazed. I actually think Saucony improved the durability of the Endorphin Speed line in the sole, because if you look at the one, there's a big hole in the sole here, and they're a lot more exposed. What you call this, almost like, feels a bit like polystyrene. I have no idea what the actual word for that is, but it's a lot more exposed. Where if you look at the 3, is less exposed. There's more grip as well, which is great. That's another thing, because I ran in such bad weathers during the winter months. The grip on these held up really, really well. I didn't have any slippage issues. There was none of that. Didn't notice, didn't even think about the grip because it didn't let me down. Thing with 3 is that it's a road shoe. It's not an off-road shoe. It's not a trail shoe. It needs to be used on the roads, and that's going to help with the durability. I only ran with it on the roads. Yeah, apart from some maybe gravel bits sometimes, but it is mainly a road shoe. So yeah, you'll get less durability if you run off-road, but I don't think anyone really buys it expecting to run off-road. Saucony use what they call is their speed roll technology, which kind of is meant to propel you forward and push you forward and sort of roll you forward as you run, and that is great. I mean, I really like it. You can see by the way the shoe looks and the way it looks like it rolls, and it feels like a bit like it does. It feels like it pushes you forward on your toes, which I really like. They use what they call it, like a nylon plate rather than a carbon plate, which a lot of the super shoes use in sort of the racing varieties of their shoes. And I think the nylon plate really helps because it gives that sort of energy return, and you get a bit of bounce back when you run, which is great for a shoe at this kind of price range. So it's almost like it's a racing shoe, but not quite. But it gives you a lot of the pros of a racing shoe, but in a more durable training shoe. The shoe's also really light. It's 229 grams for the men's shoe and 204 grams for the women's shoe. The height is 36 millimeters at the heel and 28 meters at the forefoot. So what are the bad points about this shoe? Because I've been going on about how good it is. What actually is bad about it? It's very hard to find something bad, in my opinion. I really like it. Obviously, I wouldn't have run so many miles in it, but I think the only thing I can really say is that I get this little tear in the fabric at the front, and I've had that on the other Saucony shoes I've owned. It's probably just me. It's probably the way I run creates that kind of effect, that kind of rip. But otherwise, there are not any bad points. I also just think it looks really good. I like the way they've got the same colour throughout the shoe and just a bit of yellow on it. And yeah, I'm walking. Even though I've done 1,000 plus, nearly 2,000 miles in this, I still use it to walk about in my daily life. So, what do you guys think? What have you found a shoe that's better than this? That's great for everything. That's cushioned. That's good for speed. Good for easy runs. Good for tempo runs. I'd love to know, because I'd love to find a shoe that actually I would want to use as much as this, or that can replace this. Because at the moment, I find it really hard to find a replacement for this. Let me know in the comments. But thanks so much for watching the video. I hope you found it useful. Please like and subscribe if you did find it useful. It really helps me to know that people are finding my videos helpful. I hope they are. And thanks so much.